into positions of hopelessness and helplessness. The government gives them the drugs, builds bigger prisons, passes a 3-strike law, and then wants us to sing God Bless America. No, 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 not God Bless America. God damn America. That's in the Bible for killing innocent people. God damn America for treating us citizens as less than human. God damn America as long as she tries to act like she is God and she is supreme.
Oh, welcome to Pod Damn America. I don't know why I'm French today. Gothic Socialist Podcast. I'm an idiot. I'm Jake Flores. Hello, the damned. Well, hello, our fucking listeners. Today, I am talking to a good pal of mine, freshly back in New York, I guess. Can I say that?
Yeah.
I don't know why I wouldn't be able to say it. I don't know. John F. O'Donnell, welcome to the show.
Yeah. It's like to be here, man.
I'm so glad to have you. John F. O'Donnell, to my listeners, is a comedian who I like quite a bit and who has, I guess we should say what's going on. Because if you're listeners and you know who Anders is, Anders just got a job at RT. Well, he got John's old job.
It's true.
We might as well elephant in the room, I guess.
Which for me is a best case scenario.
Sure, yeah. It
yeah.
went to someone cool, you know?
Yeah. I was on Redacted Tonight for the past 5 years. I was on the show since its first episode, and it was an awesome experience. I'm really glad and proud of a lot of the work I got to do on it. And, after 5 years, it was time for me to move on, and I'm psyched that Anders doing it because he's a great comic, and he gives a fuck about political issues, and I think he's got a great take on things, and he's going to do a good job.
Yeah, and he's got a face for TV. I've always said.
Yeah, I was actually super impressed with even his first segment. The in addition to the content and it being funny, like the physicality that he was able to do, like kind of like the movement and facial stuff was really impressive.
Well, as our listeners know, he's a trained clown.
Yes, he is.
But anyway, you're back in town, and I wanted to have you on the podcast. To talk about something that came up in conversation the other day that immediately made me go, holy shit, wait, let's go get microphones and record something about this, because this is quite a story.
It's quite a tale, dude.
I don't even want to give anything away. Let it rip, dude.
Okay, well, let's give some context, guys. As you guys can probably already tell, I am just riddled with bipolar disorder. You know what I mean? I just reek of bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
No, but I do. I have bipolar 1 disorder, right? So I'm prone to these manic episodes with these kind of grandiose and delusional thinking, often followed by these difficult depressions. And it's been something that's been very, very challenging for me for almost 20 years now. But I've been able to kind of push through and stay positive. And honestly, having a creative outlet like comedy has been something that's been really, really important for me. So, full disclosure, I did end up losing the job on Redacted Tonight because I had this big manic episode earlier in the year. I had one a couple of years before, and you guys know how that old saying goes. Have a psychotic break and take an extended leave of absence from work once, shame on me. Have a psychotic break and take an extended leave of absence from work twice, even more shame on me. But yeah, so that's what happened, you guys, and now I'm rebuilding things, and I'm excited about it because I want to pivot to talking about mental health issues more, whatever. So here's the deal.
It's the fall of self-care in New York, man.
Right?
I'm with you, man.
I feel like it's like it's the last stigmatized world is mental illness, and yes, it's less so, but I think that there's something worthwhile about delving into that. You know?
Yeah, I have a much milder case, and I don't want to steal any valor from you, but I do feel when we're both, like, even right now, there's a lot of like buzz, like energy on these microphones. We're both just like like gold blooming and shit.
No, you can't steal my mental illness valor, but it is funny. I'm like, oh, somebody else is talking about depression on stage. She's like, no, that's gonna be my niche. I'm gonna capitalize off the mental illness dollar. It's like the most fucking horrifying thing. But that's super off track. So basically, one of the things that happens to me, that happens to a lot of people when you're ramping up and getting manic, it's like hypomanic is like mania light, and then and can be kind of advantageous. And then full-blown mania is really frenetic and can be really scary and stuff like that for you and other people. But one thing that happens is I'll spend money impulsively. A lot of people do that. And so I made a few donations that I probably otherwise wouldn't have made, at least not in the amount that I made. Should I go into the other ones I made or just right into the...
Dude, tell me the whole thing.
Okay.
If you want to, I mean...
No, I will. All right. I gave $1,000 to the Sanders Institute. That's fine because I saw Nina Turner speaking, and the way she was speaking, I was perceiving it like that the end was nigh, like some sort of apocalyptic situation was having. So I was like, all right, I guess the Sanders Institute needs some more money.
Dude, first of all, just the fact that you were having a manic episode and went on a donation spree is... weird and good and wholesome in a weird way.
I mean, I have described,
because most people, it's drugs and gambling and shit.
You're right. I have described mania as being misguided, frustrated idealism.
Yeah.
Where it's misguided because you think a heaven or hell on earth scenario is occurring in a particular way that it's not. It's frustrated because all of your plans of action do not come to fruition. And it's idealism because you really do want to create this better sense of reality. But anyway, so I gave them $1,000, which is fine. I think they do some good work for sure. But I don't need to give them $1,000. You know what I mean? They don't need $1,000 of my fucking money.
Well, especially not you. Like, you shouldn't be giving anyone $1,000. None of us should be giving anyone $1,000.
Yeah. Like, I'm just grinding it out as a comedian for almost 20 years. I can't be given $1,000. I mean, we gave Bernie Sanders $282 million in the last election.
That's why he had the heart attack.
That's why he had the heart attack. He was like, I got so much money. Yeah. But anyway, I'm not super upset about that. But then I also, and this one's good, a friend of mine posted about the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline and how important it was to heighten awareness about suicide and support that. So immediately from that Facebook post, I donated $1,000 to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline.
Sure. Which
makes me feel good at the time. But here's the thing. After I did it, completely forgot about it. Only found out months and months later when I'd lost my job, was super depressed and could really use the money. And fill in the blank. I can't think of anything more ironic than my contribution towards suicide prevention, making me want to kill myself. It's just see, that's why I'm glad I'm a comedian, right? So I can turn that situation that's so fucked up and gnarly into a story, push it out and express it, hopefully get people to laugh with it, and then I can feel less alone, and maybe other people can feel a little better or something.
Of course. You should have called the hotline and been like, I pay your bills.
Yeah.
You talk to me.
Yeah, so, and it's so now I've written a couple more jokes about suicide. It's I gave suicide $1,000. You know what I mean? I can talk about it without being super insensitive. Okay,
yeah.
But the most...
For us, by us.
The most interesting of the donations was I donated $1,000 to Tulsi Gabbard's political campaign. It was earlier this year, before she became so much of this sort of divisive entity. It's interesting, right? She's become this really divisive.
It's in the last
thing, right?
week that it really ramped up because of the Hillary Clinton thing. Before that, I mean, it was people had opinions, but average Joe doesn't even know who Tulsi Gabbard is. But people that are kind of have cable news brain or Facebook brain or are into politics, that are the types of people that are really paying attention to fucking fourth tier Democratic candidate.
You're right, because in circles that I'm in, she's she's talked about all the time. You know what I mean? So it's hard to get out of that echo chamber and realize, holy shit, she doesn't even have name recognition across the country.
Yeah, most of the people I know that have hardcore opinions about her are either tankies, which is a thing that average person on the street. What is a tanky? Doesn't even really know what that is, or people that are kind of involved in left politics, or there are these sort of bubbling up takes from resistance people and the center that are really, really against her now.
That is starting. I am noticing that.
And well, a lot of that is probably right on the heels of this Hillary thing. But
Yeah.
She's fucking weird, and I don't think about her much because it's like, what's going to happen? She's not going to win, so who cares, you know?
Well, earlier this year, as I was getting manic, I guess I was getting kind of obsessed. I think it's,
Well, she's hot. I mean...
Yeah, we're like the same age. She does high-intensity interval training at the gym. I do high-intensity interval training at the gym. I mean, it just makes sense.
If there's one of them to get fixated on, she's definitely the hottest one. I could see it.
But, I mean, I guess it's like... I think she's impressed, like, anti-establishment people on the left because... during the 2016 election, she was vice chair of the DNC, and she came out and spoke out about how Bernie Sanders was being marginalized and being, all these dirty tricks were happening to him, and then she resigned from that, endorsed him, all of that stuff. Went on that fact-finding trip to Syria, where she was like, okay, CIA is arming all these terrorist groups to fight Assad. She came back to the States, put the end of the Stop Arming Terrorists Act into, I don't think it even got out of committee or whatever. So I think she became this sort of anti-regime change hero on the left. But then you're right, she has this weird overlap thing with these essentially Stalinist types or whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean that's not really. That's those people overlap with us, because they're just left politics can do no wrong or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I understand Syria enough to even have a really, really nuanced take on this. And I think that I honestly, maybe a little problematically, maybe a little, what was the term? Problematic fave. There are things about Tulsi Gabbard that I don't really dislike and I think are kind of cool. And then she's got specific takes on certain things that, I think are better, maybe not.
Yeah, she's anti-regime change, but she also voted against taking in Syrian refugees. It's like
right.
She's aligned with his nationalist Modi and stuff like that. But at the same time, her domestic platform, honestly, it's in the progressive camp for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. At least that's my understanding. But anyway,
I think so. Yeah.
Anyway, here's where it gets fun, you guys. So donated $1,000 to that campaign. And what I say in the story when I've told it on stage, once or twice. I'm like, because I donated $1,000 because she's the most stridently anti-war candidate, and because we were meant to be together.
That second part's interesting,
which I kind of thought was the case at the time.
Sure, I can see it.
She's into high intensity. No. She's a Hindu.
She's wearing that glowing white suit.
Yeah.
Come on.
Are you kidding me?
She looks like a god.
Yeah, she's a Hindu. I like to pretend I'm Buddhist. She surfs. I kind of know how to swim. It's a match made in heaven.
I see what's going on here.
Yeah, so I'm spinning out. I'm getting more and more manic. But anyway, so I donate this money. And guess what happens, Jake, if you donate $1,000 to Tulsi Gabbard's campaign?
What happens, John?
Apparently, you get a phone call from her mother, Carol Gabbard. Or at least I did, dude. For real.
Yeah.
Carol Gabbard called me. I know Tulsi was getting at the time a whole bunch of small donations because she really at the time needed to hit this 65,000 individual donations, even if it was just of $1, to guarantee that she'd get access to the debates.
Right, I remember that.
So that was a huge push for that, right? So I gave $1,000, and I guess she wasn't getting too many big donations like that. She's not taking corporate money or anything like that, right? So I guess the thinking is... all right, if there's anyone, we're gonna really kind of cultivate this. We're gonna have Tulsi's mom give somebody a call. So she calls, and now here's the thing: you guys have to understand that I donated under the name. I realized when you're making the donation, you could put, as long as you had a legitimate credit or debit card, you could put whatever name you wanted into the name section. And so, for the name, I put Goofy Grapes, and there is a whole backstory to that, which maybe I'll try to explain that in a couple minutes.
Okay, I'm really curious.
It's two whole stories that have to do with like manic things.
Let's finish this part first.
Okay, yeah. So anyway, guys, just remember Goofy Grapes. All right. So I put in the name Goofy Grapes, and then I put for occupation, I put comedian, and then for employer, I put redacted tonight. which is on RT America, Russian funded. Just put a pin in that for a second, because at the time while this was happening, while I was making this donation, it was around the same time that there were the first inklings of people talking about Tulsi Gabbard being propped up by Russia or being like a Putin asset or a Putin apologist. Like all of that stuff was starting to happen. There was just the beginnings of it. There was like an NBC News story.
Yeah.
And it like infuriated me because I've been working on Redacted Tonight for the past 5 years and just being like completely like snowballed and immersed by that Russiagate narrative and stuff like that, and not being able to even push back against it as much as I wanted to because I was working at working at RT. So it makes it like, it makes you feel like you're being an apologist even if you're just telling the fucking truth of what's going on. So anyway, I was like, I'm not going to let this red baiting happen to Tulsi. I'm going to nip this Tulsi Russiagate nothing burger narrative in the fucking bud, dude, immediately. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to donate under Goofy Grapes. I'm going to put Redacted Tonight. And then if some hack fucking journalist decides to delve into the fucking thing and like see where all these donations come from, they're going to find me and I'm going to be the kernel of it. And they're going to feel ridiculous because I'm a comedian or whatever.
And then what happened?
Okay, then then a number of months pass. I don't want to brag, but I spin out and get really manic. I'm in and out of psychiatric hospitals a couple of times. At one point, I was in D.C. I was at the Psychiatric Institute of Washington. They made me an adjunct professor. Just kidding, but no, that's what it's called. But but then, so I'm there, and then all these things. It was really gnarly this year, guys, for me. And then I was like, I kept getting arrested, and then like held in like a holding cell overnight, and then released, arrested, released, arrested, released. Until then, I was arrested, in jail for 2 weeks. Then I got moved over to this place called St. Elizabeth's Hospital, which is a psychiatric hospital. They also have a wing for people that are, have upcoming trials or charges against them to make sure they're competent to go to court and stuff like that. And it's actually where John Hinckley Jr. was, the dude who tried to kill Reagan, shot Reagan.
Wow, yeah.
He was there for like 30 years, and then he got out. But I'll never even be the most famous person that was there. I won't even be the most famous John. All right, anyway, so. But I'm there, and then I get out of there finally, and I'm on the phone with Lee, who I work with, and he's like, John, do you want to find out how you became part of a national news story for a couple of days? And I'm like, at the time I was horrified. I was like, okay. And then he's like, yeah, somebody from the Daily Beast went and looked at all 75,000 individual donations that Tulsi Gabbard got and found 3 that were vaguely connected to Russia. One is an NYU professor who's like very anti-Cold War 2.0. I've listened to this guy be interviewed on Democracy Now! His name's Stephen F. Cohen. He's a brilliant dude. The way they framed him in the article was whatever. So anyway, there's that guy. One other person, this woman who I wasn't sure who she was. And then the third one is like somebody that works for a comedian that works for the Kremlin-backed network RT, who donated under the alias Goofy Grapes. So it actually happened, dude.
Yeah.
So my manic flight of fancy, my grandiose thinking of being like, oh, if I do this, one of these Russiagate people that are making their careers off of flogging this bullshit for years is gonna do that, and they did it, but it didn't have the intended effect of stopping the red baiting of Tulsi, because Hillary Clinton just came out this week and brought it to a whole nother level, but it did certainly not help me keep my job.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny because there's 2 things going on in my mind with the story. One of them is that to all of us, you were correct in your assumption that to put something as absurd as this Goofy Grapes, I'm a comedian thing out there should serve as evidence that if that's all they found, then there probably isn't much to this theory that she's backed by the Russian government, because this serves as the hilarious one thing you find. Yet the media is so fucking absurd and has such a ridiculous talent for spin that they can still sell this story as see, Goofy Grapes, that means that she's backed by Russia. So that's crazy. Second thing is, for this all to be going on, the fucking the worst thing that can happen in a manic episode, in my experience, is that to experience some synchronicity like that, or like actually see the thing that you've been obsessing over happen, or to see your name on the fucking newspaper or something. So for that to then come back around, happen, not serve its intended purpose and fuel the mania, I'm assuming, that's fucking crazy, man.
Well, yeah. I mean, honestly, the time frame on it, by the time that came around, I was in a depressive phase. But if I wasn't, that would have been, whoa, validation. But the thing that validated me was the phone call from Carol Gabbard. That was the fucking thing. Because I didn't say this. That wasn't our only phone call, dude. Yeah. The first phone call, by the way, we talked for like 40 minutes because I was so exuberant at the time about Tulsi's campaign. Like, I knew everything about it, so I was like, I can't believe this stuff. She's a veteran, the most stridently anti-war. How are they doing this? Syria. I would say all this stuff, and then her mom would be like, I know, it's crazy. She was like agreeing. You know what I mean? 100%. Right. And we talk about how, we really wanted Tulsi to meet that $65,000 individual donation so she could be guaranteed to be on the debates and stuff like that. And so we ended up having like at least 4 phone calls. Because I had her number now. She called me from her cell. You know what I mean?
She ever call you?
I know. I always initiated the calls. But she always answered, and we had an undeniable rapport, and I never checked the time difference between D.C. and Hawaii, so that's on me.
Oh, yeah.
But it always worked out. I don't
calling
know.
her in like the middle of the night or something?
I have no fucking idea. But it kept getting, so we would check in and talk about her different, like how, we would talk about how Tulsi was doing with her press appearances, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'd be like, oh, how's Tulsi doing? How'd her CNN town hall go? How'd she do on Colbert? You know what I mean?
Okay, it's 4 p.m. as we're recording this. It's 10 a.m. in Hawaii. So
that works out.
Yeah, you're just
what I mean?
Getting early morning phone calls.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm telling you what, she's an incredibly kind, incredibly cool woman.
Clearly.
And I would ask her how she was. I would always check in with her. You know, I'd be like, "How you doing, Carol?"
Carol, it's such a mom name.
I was like, "Are you? You know, I mean, it's got to be very stressful the way the press is going after Tulsi." And she would be like, "Oh yeah, thanks for asking." You know what I mean?
It'd be funny if you guys both were watching the same TV show and you were just like, "Have you seen Succession this week?" And she's like, "Oh my god, Kendall!" You know,
that would have been fucking amazing. Yeah, we're both binge watching Mindhunter or something.
Yeah.
So she. Okay, so it kept getting weirder because I'm talking to her over the course of at least a couple of weeks, maybe more, intermittently, right? And I'm getting more and more manic. So at one point I was like, "Oh, Carol, have you seen my stand-up comedy special?"
No.
She's like, "No." I'm like, "You haven't seen the manic depressive chocolate fountain operator?" So I'm like, "I'm going to send you the link." So, because I told her I was a political comic working on Reactor Tonight, but I never said it was like RT America. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, so I sent her a link to my stand-up special and like the promo code. I'm like, everybody loves promo codes. And then next time we talked, I was like, "Carol, did you watch the special?" And she's like, "I watched some of it."
Yeah, spoken like a true mom.
Yeah. She really hedged on that. It was really nice of her.
Yeah.
But then it got a little bit weird at one point because I was kind of when I'm manic.
It seemed like everyone in the audience had a good time. Yeah. I didn't understand what was happening.
It looked like you put on a nice show for your friends. But I was ramping up and getting more and more manic. And when I'm manic, if I smoke weed, it just is like the THC just brings it into another gear of insanity.
Sure.
So there was very unfortunately, there were these, across the street from where I live was a gas station, and there were these 2 pictures of a woman. It was like the same woman, but it was a big kind of like poster, and I think it was advertising some sort of ingredient in gasoline, like Invigorate, like so-and-so gasoline, now with Invigorate, whatever that is, and it was like a woman smiling. But the woman looked just enough like Tulsi Gabbard to me, Jake.
Yeah.
That I was high, and I was like, "Oh wow, this is like a badass, like overt move by the Gabbard campaign to like show solidarity with me, even though I'm this like, figure that it's hard to associate publicly with. This is them going out on a limb,
right?
And I get it." What the fuck, dude?
I don't know, man.
I don't know either. So basically somebody from the Daily Beast wrote an article called something to the effect of Tulsi Gabbard campaign propped up by Putin apologists.
I've got it right here.
Did I get it close?
Yeah, so it's the Daily Beast. There's some Russian letters above this. I guess this is part of a series. Something bites something. There's just Russian gibberish above this. Tulsi Gabbard's campaign is being boosted by Putin apologists. The Hawaii congressman is quickly becoming the top candidate for Democrats who think the Russian leader is misunderstood. Putin apologists, I guess, is so. That's not even a fucking thing. Like,
dude, just read the second paragraph.
This is by Lachlan Marquet and Sam Stein. Let's see. So, second paragraph. Donors to her campaign in the first quarter of the year included Stephen F. Cohen, a Russian studies professor at New York University and prominent Kremlin sympathizer. Sharon Tennyson, a vocal Putin supporter who nonetheless found herself detained by Russian authorities in 2016, and an employee of the Kremlin-backed broadcaster RT who appears to have donated under the alias Goofy Grapes. So there we are.
That is how Russia takes America to its knees, by propping up Tulsi with the goofiest of all grapes.
Yeah, this is so ridiculous because their argument for proof that Tulsi Gabbard is backed by the Russian government is that she's received donations from other people who you could only vaguely make an argument that they are liked or have sympathy to Russia. There's no direct link to like Russia at all. It's someone else who likes Russia gave
and
this
certainly
person
not
money.
the Russian state in any capacity. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I like Tulsi Gabbard. Yeah, I've worked on the comedy show Redacted Tonight on RT America, the American production company wing of an international news channel. Like, to tie all of those things back to a concerted effort of Russian influence on Tulsi Gabbard is truly, truly insane. Stephen F. Cohen is a very, very respected academic. You can say Kremlin sympathizer, or you can say he doesn't want Cold War 2.0 and World War III to break out. You know?
Yeah.
And I don't even know who that other woman is. But I love the way they wrote it about her. They're like, she's speaks prominently about Russia, even though she was detained. That's how much Stockholm syndrome that freak woman has.
Well, I don't want to make any assumptions about these people's politics because I don't know them, but a lot of professors are sort of more kind to Marxism than the average Joe in the media, and so you might be making a stretch to where someone likes certain things from Russian history, they must be totally down with like Vladimir Putin right now, who is, Russia right now is very much not the Soviet Union. It's totally, we set up like really shitty stratified capitalism there, so it wouldn't even make any sense.
Yeah, it's got like the most billionaires. It's like an oligarchic, authoritarian regional.
I think. Okay, here's my take on this. The fact that you use a code name is what caused this journalist to think, well, I have to fucking tell this story because this has now got like juicy, really sellable, fucking pitchable, marketable Russiagate appeal to it. Because and it's so stupid because it's a fucking code name that you came up with that's hilarious, but they could still, try and tell some story where it's like, well, this is Deep Throat or something funny or something, from real history like that. You know what?
Maybe you're right on that, but maybe also though it's in this case because it's so ridiculous. It's a little bit of the opposite where he had to blind himself to the ridiculousness of it to get his point across. You know what I mean? Like if he had my real name, he might have been like, oh, cool, that makes it sound. In his mind, he could have oh, that sounds more legitimate, right? Because he didn't I don't know, because the other two people he has their real names. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you're right. It's hard to tell.
I don't know. I just know that
because it got picked up. This story got picked up by Real Clear Politics. By Rolling Stone.
Rolling Stone.
Yeah, but Matt Taibbi wrote a thing, but it was him
he was
pushing back against how ridiculous this article was. And then George Stephanopoulos on ABC News asked Tulsi Gabbard about it. He didn't say Goofy Grapes, which I so wish. He was like, yes, did the goofiest of grapes give you money?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I know what you mean. But go ahead. I think I cut you off.
I was just going to say that the code name thing, I guess, I could see how that would be appeal to people that are obsessed with Russiagate. Because people that have Russiagate brain often, you often go home for Thanksgiving and a relative of yours that has been left alone for too long in a cubicle all of a sudden is talking of dossiers and, various espionage vocabulary words like that. And you go what the You need a hobby. You need a new TV show to watch. This is crazy, like, make 'em up shit for you.
I just love the idea of Goofy Grapes being the guy behind the entire like Russian Gate narrative.
Well,
I am the one.
Well, that's the joke, right? Oh, so what is the story behind Goofy Grapes?
Okay, the story behind Goofy Grapes is I've had this recurring thing over the years where I'm manic, where I think I'm performing some sort of deep dive hack of the internet in order to take like temporary control of it, so the neocons can't erase all of the evidence of their war crimes from YouTube and whatnot. So I think I'm like protecting and saving all of these URLs, and it takes on different forms. But one of the ones I remember would be like, I would like, there'd be a URL, then I'd add some new like words to it, and then I'd copy it and paste it and like email it to my friend, and then it'd be like, okay, now we control that or something like that. It really was not like a deep dive hack. I don't even know HTML or like CSS. But, it's not really how hacking works.
Wait, okay, how did this lead to Goofy?
Well, I'll tell you. So while I was doing that the first time in like 2008, I was really scared that they were going to find out it was me doing it. So I was like, oh, I need to create some sort of scapegoat. And so the scapegoat for my hack was Goofy Grapes. That was like the scapegoat for my hack was going to be Goofy Grapes.
Okay.
And Goofy Grapes actually is a character that a friend of mine played one time at a comedy show 13 years ago that was just like a super obscure, weird character of a guy that just looked ridiculous. He like kind of was like, he talked like, it's not even funny when I explain him to anybody, but he was just kind of like, hello, I'm Goofy Grapes. And he had like weird goggles on.
Sure.
And like snow pants. And it was just, I don't know. He was like it was so fucked up because he seemed like he was like a slow kind of like deranged homeless person or something like that. And
sure.
I don't even know if the character would fly these days.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And it never even took off. But I just, for some reason, I just thought it was really funny at the time.
Yeah.
And in my manic mind, I was like, oh, this would be the most ridiculous thing for assets in the intelligence community to have to track down. Would have to be to find this Goofy Grapes entity. And I thought maybe there was a video of him online or something like that, or there used to be.
Yeah.
So they would find this weird little snippet of Goofy Grapes and then have to go find that.
Yeah,
you know?
they would think it was that character.
So I was like hashtagging and tweeting a lot of things with like Goofy Grapes and stuff, but there's just so many holes in the logic here because I was like hashtagging Goofy Grapes when I was like getting out these information and sending these URLs into Twitter, but I was using my Twitter account, which is very immediately recognizable as being me. But for whatever reason, oh, and then there's more. Okay, so then that's the Goofy Grapes thing is then somehow in my mind, and like, I'm sorry if this doesn't make sense, but it is like a manic, it's me trying, you know what it's been like, Jake, for me to try to,
dude,
like,
there was no prerequisite that any of this makes sense.
Yeah, but I'm just telling you guys, this is my experience. Okay, I always wanted to, when I'm manic, I always think I'm going to popularize my own cryptocurrency, Jfod coin, because I'm John F. O'Donnell. My nickname's Jfod, so I'm going to make Jfod coin. And it's actually a response to being upset that Bitcoin has been co-opted by these moneyed elites, and it was meant to be this sort of egalitarian, idealistic monetary system that cuts out the central banks and the middlemen and all the fees and all of that sort of stuff, and it's created by these open source computer ninjas and all that sort of thing.
I'm listening.
Yeah. But now it's been co-opted by, the Winklevoss twins and all that shit, right? They set up the exchange for it. And it got inflated in price when the New York Times wrote about it a few years ago, Bitcoin. So I was like, oh, I need to create one of these altcoins. So I'm going to create Jfod coin. But I wasn't ready to create it yet, but I wanted like all of my friends and family and stuff to be who I was perceiving them like creating all this value for the world, especially comedians, by, pushing out all of this stuff, by pushing through so much bullshit and opening people's minds and evolving their consciousness. So they deserve to get compensation for that. So I was like, I need to give future Jfod coins some sort of digital signature and some sort of tangible form. And the only way to do that is to assign some sort of emoji to them. So I gave like the grapes emoji, like represented Jfod coins.
Sure.
So that kind of hashtag Goofy Grapes and the grapes emoji are all sort of connected in that world. So, then cut to 10 years later, I'm doing some sort of other hack. This time, there's hashtag Yike City instead of hashtag Goofy Grapes, which is another story, whatever. But anyway, that's signified by the cherries grapes. And then I started sending people like grapes and cherry emojis as like future Jfod coin IOUs or something like that.
Okay.
So anyway, that's why I type Goofy Grapes into there.
Okay, I follow you.
You know what I mean?
Well, the same logic you use when you're trying to come up with a new password for an email account or something. It's like, who the fuck was that guy at that open mic 6 years ago? Oh, yeah, his name was Pockets. That was funny. Pockets, you know?
So, I mean, like it's this, if anything, can truly, truly show the insanity of the Russiagate narrative. It's the fact that legitimate clinical insanity inserted itself into the Russiagate narrative, and the Russiagate brains and journalists ran with it as though it was real.
Right. Because their shit is so crazy that a literal, like,
I'm literally going through a crazy episode, you know?
A crazy person going through a manic episode, wandering into their set of the story they're telling, blends right in because that's how crazy their fucking story is.
Yeah. And you know how I said, like, it didn't have the effect of what I wanted? Maybe now that for the first time, this is the first time I've told this story, like, in person to a couple friends. I've told it on stage once. This is the first time I've talked about it on a podcast. Maybe over time, this will have the effect of nipping the Russiagate narrative about Tulsi Gabbard in the bud.
That's why I was like, this is a really funny story, but B, that the point of the story being how fucking dumb Russiagate is like something that is important to me to talk about.
Yeah, me too.
So, no, I'm fucking glad, dude. Goofy Grapes for life. Fucking emoticon Goofy Grapes.
Yeah, so if I ever start sending you, Jake, a whole bunch of grapes and cherry emojis, you should give me a call.
I will.
And then you should maybe give my psychiatrist a call or something.
I will. I'll tell your psychiatrist. I will pay you many grape coins.
Jfod coins.
As soon as they are redeemable at the bank to take care of Jfod for me.
But yeah, I guess what I want to say is also, so that, right? And it's really cool, the political satire and comedy I got to do. I got to do some really crazy shit in the past 5 years. I had a congressional press credential at one point, and I was a credentialed journalist at a whole bunch of the presidential primary debates and first presidential debate in 2016. And I really fuck with some people, I think, in a really interesting way. And I'm proud of that work and all the stuff I did. And dealing with this, you know, at times really, really painful and embarrassing, humiliating, shameful mental illness of bipolar disorder, being able to turn this stuff into stories and do comedy about it, to feel less alone and try to create a sense of community, it really, to me, is so, so important. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, brother. Amen to that. I wholeheartedly agree.
Do we have time for one quick story?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so there's a little bit of politicalness in this, but I think you'll say it's funny. I just remembered this. So when I was manic, when you're manic, you can be like super charismatic, right?
Yeah.
So I was up all night and I was walking around sort of around the corner from where I lived in this sort of little kind of courtyard area. And there's this woman was walking to her car. She'd stayed at her friend's house last night and she was like leaving. So I just started saying hi and kind of chatted her up for a couple minutes. And we were talking and enjoying each other's company. And then I just asked her, I was like, if you can't do it, it's cool, but could you think you could give me a ride home? And she's like, yeah. She said yes. But the thing is, I lived like right around the corner. Like there was no place for her to drive me home to. But I was like, oh, I want to hang out with her for a while. So I just like told her I live someplace else.
Yeah.
And so she just kept driving me around for like a long time, but we were really getting along. And then finally I was like, oh, no, it's not here. It's here. It's here. And then she realized, she's like, did you just take me back to where we were? And I was like, yeah, sorry. I wanted to hang out with you.
God damn,
it's fucked up. And then she's like, I was like, do you want to come in and get some tea? She's like, okay.
No.
Yeah.
Lady.
Yeah.
Don't go in there.
Don't go in there.
Horror movie.
It's terrible. Yeah. But I'm a nice guy. But
no, you are.
Yeah,
but it could have been somebody else.
It could have been, yeah. So we're having tea, and we're hanging out, we're enjoying each other's company, and then there was somebody else who was in there that I met at the psychiatric hospital who was homeless, and then this guy Derek, nice guy, who I then was letting him stay at the place, which definitely was alienating to my roommate. I'm sorry about that. So anyway, I was like, okay, let's go get something to eat. Let's go to the Farewell Diner in DC is awesome. It's this vegan diner that's like the food is phenomenal. It tastes better than like most food any place, diner food. And so so I was like, okay. I was like, you know what, guys, let's go there. My treat. You know what I mean? She's like, okay. So the three of us drive there, and in my mind at the time, I realized I didn't have access to any of my money and stuff like that because of manic things happening. But I had a good amount of money in my Venmo. So my thing that I was doing with comics was trying to like Venmo them and get them to give me cash and stuff. And so the night before, I told a bunch of comedians to meet me at the Farewell Diner the next day, and they were like, yeah, okay, whatever. But then I was like, okay, this is when I'll be able to get my money, right?
Yeah.
So we're ordering a bunch of stuff, me and this woman that I just met and the homeless gentleman that I met at the psych ward, and I'm ordering all this stuff, and we're eating everything, da-da-da. None of the comedians show up or anything like that. It was like $107 bill or something like that, and I didn't have any money, you know, but I had a couple books with me. I had this book called Afro Vegan, which is about the burgeoning vegan movement in Africa. And I had Noam Chomsky's 9/11 book, the book like first edition. But they still cost like $11 but on eBay. But so I was like, okay, and we got a bunch of to-go boxes of the stuff, and I was like, all right, come on, guys, let's go. And they were like, what, we're not going to pay? And I was like, no, let's go. So I left the Afro Vegan book on there, and then I took the check part to the outside of the back door, and I opened it, and I put the Noam Chomsky book in there, and then the three of us just ran out, and we're like running, and she's like, what the fuck did you do? She's like, I have a kid, I can't get arrested, you know? I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know. And then we got in the car, and as we were driving, everybody started, like, the adrenaline was as such that she was like laughing, and like we were all like having a good time.
Yeah.
And then when we left, I was like, oh, can I get your number? Can we? And she's like, yeah. We exchanged numbers, and we never hung out again. But like, what the fuck? And I feel so bad because that diner is a really, really great place. Like, I met the owner the week before. She's this independent business owner. It's this really cool vegan spot. Like, they really have an amazing ethos about everything. And I just paid her with 2 books, you know. But that's that story.
That woman's name was Amy Klobuchar. No, that's fucking crazy.
So I'm sorry about that.
Well,
but the Afro Vegan book was a nice sized book. It was a hardcover. It was a lot of pictures. It cost like $30-$40 maybe.
Right, we'll figure out a way to make it up to him. We'll get Gabbard to kick some of that money back. Yeah, there's actually something in that article by a campaign spokesperson says that they're going to give the money back. But I never reached out. They're going to give it back to you?
Well, they said like, read it in the article. It says something about like that they're going to give. Because then the article gets even crazier. They're saying like Susan Sarandon gave, you know what I mean? They're like, Susan Sarandon gave $500.
Wait, fuck, where'd it go? Susan Sarandon, the famous actress who earned the enduring wrath of Democrats for her support of Green Party candidate Jill Stein in the 2016 election, gave $500. Okay, yeah, after being asked about these donations, Cullen Tiernan, a spokesperson for Gabbard, said the campaign would be returning them. Dude, she owes you $1,000. You've got more of a right to it than anyone. You could.
Yes, I do, actually.
You'd show them the receipts from the fucking institution.
Yeah.
Wow, that's fucked up.
It's funny.
Dude.
Every time I get a mass email from the Tulsi Gabbard campaign, it says, hello, Goofy. For real. Because, they just take the first name.
Yeah.
So it's like, hello, Goofy. We need to mobilize against Hillary Clinton's attack.
Oh, dude, that's bananas. Oh, sorry, it's not bananas, it's grapes.
So good.
All right. Well, fucking Jfod, where can people check out your shit? Where can they see you stand up and listen to your album and stuff?
Yeah. How about this? For you guys, this is bonus material, right?
Yeah.
All right. I'll give you guys the promo code so you get my stand-up special for free, just like I did for Carol Gabbard. So just go to jfodcomedyspecial.com. That's jfodcomedyspecial.com. And then you click buy. Just use the promo code at checkout. Capital JFOD, lowercase special. So JFOD special. Capital J, capital F, capital O, capital D, lowercase special. JFOD special. And yeah, you can follow me on social on at the real Jfod.
All right, cool. Well, that was quite a tale. I fucking love it, man. All right, that's it.